We're at the home of Tony Innamorato, and visiting with his brother, Cosmo, no?
Yes.
Yeah, Antonio's the name.
Oh, you want to start all over again?
Yeah, let's rewind the
Yeah,
tape
use
now.
Antonio.
Today, we're interviewing two brothers who served in World War II. Today is Sunday, July the 13th, 2003. We're at the home of the brothers, home of Danny Innamorato, which is a brother of the two brothers we are interviewing. And one is Antonio Innamorato.
Yes,
Your age is what?
80.
80. And Cosmo Innamorato, your age is what?
85.
85. Can you, Tony, give me the time of your enlistment or draft?
Drafted May the 3rd, 1943.
Where did you take your basic training?
Fort Dix, not Fort Dix, Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
And after basic training, where did you go?
Went to, well, I took the basic training, then we went to Shelby, Mississippi for further training.
For advanced infantry training?
Yes,
Or?
for further training.
Yeah. And after that? where was-
Went to Camp Forest in North Carolina, or Tennessee, I should say. And then we went to Camp Shanks, which is up in New York State, and we shipped out of Camp Shanks, New York.
And what were you doing at that time in the service?
I was a motor sergeant.
Motor sergeant. And where did you ship out of? In
We shipped out of New York.
New York. And your destination?
Was Scotland, up to
Scotland.
northern Scotland. That's where we landed.
And what unit were you assigned to over there?
I was at which I started out with. The unit I started out during training and everything was 286th Field Artillery Observation Battalion.
Okay. And you stayed with that battalion all the way into Europe?
Yeah, I stayed through the whole same outfit.
Oh, okay. Now we'll switch over to Cosmo. Give me your time of service and if you were drafted or enlisted.
I was drafted June 10th of 1941. And from there we went to Fort Dix for basic training. From there we went to Camp Belvoir in Virginia, Fort Belvoir I think it is, for training purposes in the 1200 Regiment. And then we were broken up to two battalions. One was the Combatant Battalion, the other was the 649th Topograph Battalion, Engineers. And from there we moved to Camp Pickett for training, same out in the field. From there we went to Plattsburgh, New York, barracks. And from there we got some more training. Then we got the colors for the battalion. We had to march around the field twice because we didn't do it right the first time. From there, we got ordered to Camp Kilmore for embarkation purposes. I think a week later, we boarded the troop ships to go to Africa.
All right, hold on. Tony, at the time of your enlistment, where were you living then?
On Bell Avenue, Raritan, New Jersey.
In Cosmo? Where were you living?
In Bell Avenue, New Jersey.
Raritan, New Jersey.
Raritan, New Jersey.
All right. I understand you participated in the landing in North Africa. Can you give me some information on that?
649th disembarked off the troop ships, and before we disembarked, German planes came over and dropped two bombs and missed our troop ship and another one. And we landed right after that.
What port did you land at?
Port of Oran.
Iran?
Oran, North Africa.
Oran?
Oran.
Oran, okay. And Uncle Tony, where did you land?
Landed in northern Scotland.
Northern Scotland. Then from there, where'd you go?
We went from northern Scotland to the southern part of England, which is called Bournemouth, England, which is the Atlantic city of England. And we stayed there until we crossed the channel into France. And then, of course, then we went into the battle zones. And we didn't go in on the first wave, as you hear it, actually where the action really was, where people were really killed, soldiers were really killed. We went in about 4 or 5 weeks later, after this invasion, and we landed in Omaha Beach in France. And then we continued across France, different cities and bombings and everything else.
Were you, what particular outfit were your battalion with?
We were with the 3rd Army, Patton.
General Patton's Third Army.
General Patton's 3rd Army.
And Cosmo, you were with?
We left North Africa. I was advanced to motor sergeant in control of the military equipment and trucks and that sort. We broke up and made a platoon of 90 men and 1 officer. We were called the Surrey Platoon for the control of artillery units, artillery fire.
And what division or service branch were
We
you?
served in the 5th Army in Italy, landing in Naples.
No, wait a minute, you were still in Africa though.
Yeah, we left Africa.
What army were you with in
In Africa?
Yeah.
No army.
No army.
Just a full battalion,
Oh.
649th Infographic Battalion. And from there, we were ordered to land in Naples for the attack of Mount Cassino. They needed artillery control. Without artillery control, the artillery cannot fire. They don't know where their men are at and what to fire at. So that we had to send men in different areas and heights and top of the mountain to survey the enemy area, behind the enemy lines. So the artillery unit don't hit your own men. And that was the job in Italy up to that point.
Uncle Tony, you remember your service in France?
Yes, I do.
Uh,
We went in on Omaha Beach, which I said before,
mhm.
and we went into a little town called Moveron. Was the first town we ever hit. Now, like Cosmo was saying, he did the placement of guns in the enemy line. Well, our job was to sound and flash, what was called sound and flash. It's a triangulation of the firing of the gun and the sound, and then the flash that a gun fired on the other opposite line. And we would triangulate that, and then our guns would get the information, and they would fire back. And that was our job. Most of the times, like Cosmo was saying, we were not too far behind the line. We were sometimes in front of the infantry, sometimes in front of the infantry, which created a bad problem if you got tracked. But luckily, we didn't. Only once we think they got behind us, and of course the infantry was behind us, and they came in and pushed them back so they didn't bother us. But that was what our job was. It was sound and flash, triangulation.
Would they call that counter battery fire now?
Yes, yeah.
Today?
We used to fire at the guns that fired on us. And we did a pretty good job, to be honest with you. We knocked quite a few guns out.
Do you have any recollection of any things that happened while you were there that could be funny or...
No, it was serious business.
It was
Nothing
just
funny.
Nothing hilarious and anything that happened in your outfit, like
No.
jokes or something like
I
that?
said one thing, we had a CP outside of this town, Moveron, and we usually put guards out. And I was in charge of them sometime. And one time I shouldn't have done this because the lines could have been tracked. Could have been
Broken?
the enemy could have tied into it and picked up the information. I called up the commander of my outfit, and I said to him, "You want me to put guards out?" And he said, he didn't say anything then, he said, no, don't put any out. The next day, he was gonna have me busted, because I used a line, I shouldn't have used them. That should have been by word of mouth, because they could have found out that I didn't have guards out, they could have come in and wiped us out. They could have, because they were close, they were very close. That's one of the funny things that happened. Well, I almost got busted.
How about you, Cosmo?
Well, any interesting, there was nothing interested in Italy, except we couldn't take Marcassino, so they called the bombers in. And they finally dropped bombs on the Marcassino and destroyed it. We advanced through up to the Lehigh Valley, all the way into Rome, up to Siena, in northern Italy, just outside of Florence.
I understand you almost were bombed by your own planes.
And that is right. They dropped 2 bombs on top of the hill, and I'm pretty sure one general got killed, and then one, it was an officer and an enlisted man. And they somehow got orders to the plane to stop throwing a bomb, because you missed it. We could see the monitor there, but I guess he couldn't see it. Anyway, he went on and did drop the bombs, and the rest of the fleet of planes, bombers dropped the casino and destroyed
You
it.
watched the
You
monastery,
watched them go down.
you watched them being destroyed.
Yeah, we just about got up of our camp, because they all ran underneath the trucks and everything else we could hide, because they were dropping the bombs on our hill. But then we ran out and we see the bombardment going on. From there, we went on all the way up to Rome. And at that time, Germans had no more gas left. And they were using Italian horses to pull their guns. So we destroyed everything. We destroyed 3 16-inch guns on railroad cars, on the tracks. And we went on into Rome. And from there, Rome was an open city. But we were fully armed. And they could see us, we were armed. But we went on through, the Germans were pulling out. And we went up to Siena, and then we got ordered back to Naples for what we didn't know at that time. But we found out pretty quick. They ordered me to get off, because I was a motorcycle at the time. And they ordered me to have all the vehicles waterproof for underwater landing in southern France. The invasion of southern France.
You were getting ready for the invasion of
The
southern
invasion of
France.
southern France.
Uncle Tony, any big cities in France did you get to?
Paris, we did Paris, went through Paris. Let's say we went through Paris. I mean, we went through it.
Were you any of the marching soldiers marching through there,
No,
or the
no.
victory soldiers?
No, we drove. Everything we rode. Nothing we walked. We did no walking at all. I just want to put in that the biggest thing we had was an M rifle, 45, and a 50 caliber rifle, 50 caliber machine gun. That's the biggest piece of equipment we had. We had no big guns at all. We just controlled other divisions or outfits that had big guns. I'm talking about big ones, 240s, 155, and the 105. That's the biggest thing that we commanded. We told them where to fire, but we had no big guns at all. Our job was to tell them where to fire. That's all. And we controlled quite a few different outfits, and it worked out pretty good. It's supposed to have been one of the newest types of warfare, which is now today. I don't know if they use it or not, but we did use them then, because they did a lot of planning to try to get rid of us. They were afraid of us. They were really afraid of us, because we used to knock them out, and they let us know. I was going to tell you another one of those things that happened funny. We were in this little town called